Yeah, you read the title of the video. It's why I regret reading Berserk. I have sat down to make this video probably like 6 times now, and over the course of a week, and I've never been able to finish a recording. I would always stop, sort of sigh, and then go read more Berserk and just hope that my feelings would change. And then I would be like, okay, I'm on board now. I'm riding the hype train. But they never did. In fact, the feelings that I felt at first sort of only got stronger over time. So I decided, bite the bullet, sit down, make the video, finish it this time, stop being a coward, and just talk about it. I don't want anyone to be mistaken. This is not going to be an in-depth review of Berserk. Obviously, your boy doesn't do reviews, but if you're new here, if maybe you're just Berserk fan 54 and you clicked on this video thinking that I do reviews, I don't. I just talk about things. And in fact, the actual content of the Berserk manga is only going to be a pretty small part of this video because, quite frankly, specifics about the content don't really matter. I will be talking about it a bit, but the context surrounding my whole situation, I believe, is just more important. So, first off, a little tiny bit of backstory. Since the start of my channel, which was, I don't know, feels like 16 years ago at this point, Berserk has been the most requested manga for me to make a video on, like by far. And I didn't even make videos about manga at all at first. It took probably, I don't know, a year, I want to say. I think I did videos for a year before I even did manga related stuff. And it's also been the manga that people suggest to me the most. So it's been the most requested thing, manga related, and the most suggested thing. And I honestly think this might be the most highly rated manga of all time as well. Maybe not necessarily if you were to go to a site like My Anime List. I don't know where it ranks on that, but I think if you quizzed every single manga fan in the world anonymously what they thought the best manga was, I bet that Berserk would come up the most often. Honestly, I bet that would be many, 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 many people's answer. Now, this video is really hard to structure. Like I've said, I've tried many times to record it and it just never really felt right. So I decided, fuck it, we're doing it live. Scripts didn't work out. They felt shitty and inauthentic. So we're just going to try. I would like to first start by explaining why I hadn't read Berserk up until this point. It had basically always been on my list of things I'd been interested in, but never started. Specifically, what sort of gate kept me at first was it was just a really long series compared to a lot. Most things that I read average out between like 20 chapters for stuff that's ongoing up to like maybe 100. And so that chapter count, when I looked at it, was quite daunting. So that was kind of what made me not read it at first. Then over time, what happened was it got more and more hyped to me, and my expectations were just becoming higher and higher. I mean, they were going through the roof, going to space, and after a certain point, it seemed like it might just be an impossible task for Berserk, or quite frankly, any manga, to meet those expectations. And unfortunately, it was impossible. Berserk fell short, and in fact, I really wish that I hadn't started reading it, so I could have still held it up there as that lofty, one day I'll read that. But I read it, and those expectations absolutely ruined my experience. And people would tell me stuff, like completely unrelated, different people would tell me very similar things about the manga. They would parrot each other unintentionally all the time. And people would routinely tell me that Berserk has the best art in all of manga. That's just not true. Especially at the start of the series, it's just not true. I'm not saying the art's bad at all, but when you're hyping it up as it has the best, not good, not really good, the best art in all of manga. I mean, no, it's good. It is really good. There's quite a few different panels that I would be like, damn, I would get that as a large format print. But sitting here and telling me that it's the best art in all of manga is quite frankly insulting. People would also tell me all the time that it was the darkest series ever and that reading it broke their soul and changed them. Not really, to be honest. Like, by today's standards, it's really nothing crazy. And I think that again is part of it. Like, if I had read Berserk at the right time and the right place, I would have been blown away. But because I didn't, here we are. And while reading it, I had this awful feeling that I was like, damn, dude, why don't I like this? What is going on? Like, why do I feel this way? And after a while, I kind of realized what the problem was. In a combination of the expectations thing that I said before, um, I have read so many manga at this point, hundreds, if not billions, of different series, and a huge amount of them were inspired by Berserk, like a lot of them. And in a weird way, because of that, uh, Berserk being so influential, I've kind of been reading bits and pieces of it through other people's works without even knowing it. So oftentimes while reading Berserk, I would find myself thinking, hey, this kind of seems like a ripoff of other things I've read. And then I had to sit there and say, hey, whoa, 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 wait a minute. What? No, that's not it. And I had to remind myself it was, in fact, the other way around, that Berserk had been so influential that I had essentially been reading it by proxy. What I should have done, and my God, what I wish I had done, was read Berserk as one of my first mangas. Because at this point, I've seen series with better art and more with far darker storylines, quite frankly. I mean, in the first little bit of Berserk, we definitely get a lot. We get a lot of death, murder, we get some rape, we get some pretty scary imagery, a lot of things going on with demons, some implied incest. But here's the thing, and that sounds crazy, and it is pretty dark shit, but at this point in modern day manga, bro, this is routine stuff. I mean, we see these things literally all the time. It's not, and it's kind of fucked up to say, but like, I guess we've just been desensitized to things like this. Like, oh, you've got like a aborted baby fetus on the ground. Seen it, been there, done that. One thing I want to make very clear, and I maybe should have done this at the start of the video instead of several minutes in, but I do not dislike Berserk, and this video is not me trying to hate bait a bunch of people by saying, actually, Berserk is bad, because I don't think that. I do not think that. It is a pretty good series that was just ruined for me personally by years and years of hype just building up. If you go into something, if you go into reading a series or watching a movie or eating food and expecting an 11 out of 10 rating, and it turns out to just be like a 7, 7.5, maybe an 8, that still feels rather disappointing despite that rating being actually very good. And even though I think Berserk is a pretty good series, I do not think I'm going to keep reading it. I have a massive amount of respect for the legacy Berserk has created, and I am very, very grateful for the influence it has spread. Without Berserk, several of my all-time favorite mangas just simply would not exist. Some of my favorite video games would not exist anymore, but at the end of the day, quite frankly, I find Berserk a little bit boring, and the more I read it, the more sad I become. Not sad because of the content that it's showing me, sad that it's just not having a super profound impact on me that I've seen it have on many others. And I realize that it's my fault. I could have avoided this entire situation by simply reading the goddamn manga sooner. I could have read it years ago and saved myself this trouble, but I didn't. And so I'm in this position right now, and I am making this video. And honestly, who knows? Maybe one day my position will change. Maybe one day I'll come out with a video out of the blue of a very in-depth breakdown of Berserk, or maybe I'll talk about all my favorite Berserk-inspired series. But I wanted to make this specific video talking about how my expectations sort of ruined the series for me and whatnot, because I am sure, I am 100% positive that there are people out there who feel the exact same way that I do. And maybe, just maybe, those people will see this video and it'll help them feel a little bit better knowing that they aren't alone in thinking those things. They don't have to suffer in silence. Misery loves company and all that. But that being said, to those people, if you are one of them, I give you full permission to leave evil comments on this video. Tell your friends how much I suck, and do anything you need to do in order to not blow your cover. Continue faking it and say that you're a Berserk superfan, even though honestly you were disappointed by it, because that's probably how you are going to have the best time on the internet in the manga community. And to everyone who was waiting for the Berserk video, hoping that I would sing its praises for 20 minutes, I am sorry. Genuinely, I feel pretty fucking sad about how Berserk turned out for me. I really, really wanted to love Berserk so much. I wanted to love Berserk to the point where I read it and then immediately went out and got a Berserk themed tattoo. I loved it so much, but I just didn't. I really just did not like it that much. I did not like it nearly as much as people had led me to believe, and so I figured I'd make this video. But at least I was pretty nice about it. I wasn't especially mean. I didn't call Berserk fans knuckle draggers or mouth breathers or anything like that. I think Berserk is cool, and if you like it, that's cool. I just don't really like it that much, and I'm not going to read it anymore. So please be gentle to me in the comments, even though that is probably not going to happen. There's probably going to be 3 comments on this video, and they're all going to be, "You're fucked in the head." Oh well.